Because breaking right now, Harry and Meghan have touched down in Bogota, Colombia for this phony, false, fake, however you want to put it, royal tour. And what I thought, Lady C, great to have you by the way, what I thought was so fascinating about this first image is it them really starting as they mean to go on. From what I can understand, this is actually an image released by Archewell. So they've tried to make it look as if it's like a natural shot taken by photographers, but clearly they're already setting up their own pictures. What do you make of this trip, Lady C?
Well, they're not only set. Hi, Dan. How are you, guys?
Very well,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much for having me on. It's good to see you.
So good to see
Well,
you.
I don't know if you have been getting reports from them, but I have been getting reports from them, not obviously directly, but through my friends. They have this woman called Bianca Betancourt, who is the cultural editor of harpersbazaar.com. She is writing the press releases. The press releases are written in the most pathetic sort of, you've got to understand this is how it's got to be reported way. A warm welcome. I mean, nothing fact, interwoven with the fact is all sorts of manipulative information to create the atmosphere of desirability that Harry and Meghan require, which is totally unprofessional. And of course, if they had been going to have a proper pool journalist, they would have had someone from Reuters or from Associated Press, which is what royals do on tour. Of course, they're not really royals. They're ex-royals. And, it's the way they're doing it is it's propagandized and they're setting the tone. And friends of mine are feeding me the information that Harry and Meghan are feeding them. And we are all killing ourselves with laughter in the background because it's also unprofessional and it's also lightweight, but it's also not particularly desirable. And it's really quite dangerous because there's a strong racist element to this whole trip and to the purpose of the trip. If you listen to what Francia Marquez has had to say,
Now, she's the vice president of Colombia, isn't she?
Yeah.
All right, folks, this is it. Harry and Meghan have once again been caught in a massive PR stunt, and Lady Colin Campbell just called them out live on air. So here's the deal. Harry and Meghan just landed in Bogota, Colombia for what they want the world to see as a royal tour. But here's the problem. They are not royals. They have no official role and no invitations from Buckingham Palace, and yet they are acting like they're still working royals. And get this. Lady C reveals that Meghan and Harry are controlling their media coverage. Instead of letting journalists cover the trip naturally, they are staging their own photos, making it look like spontaneous press coverage. Folks, this is straight-up deception. Lady Colin Campbell put it best. This isn't a royal visit. This is a fake, phony, manufactured publicity stunt. And the worst part? People are falling for it. Harry and Meghan are acting like royals, but they're not. They are staging their own press coverage. Why the deception?
Yes, she is. And she is the one who claims that she asked them. She asked them, having been prompted by Meghan to ask her. But obviously both Francia Marquez and Meghan share a lot in common, including the need to twist the narrative and to propagandize. And both of them will be playing the race card, which I think is very dangerous, especially in a country like Colombia. Colombia only has 6.8% of people of African descent. And Francia Marquez, since she has been elected, which has only been for 2 years, She has been doing the, oh, poor me, I'm a black woman and I'm being taken advantage of, and I've had 12,000 negative comments about me. Well, I have far more than 12,000 negative comments about me per annum. So
Me
I think
too.
she's doing well. Well, exactly, don't you?
No, indeed. And what I found so ridiculous is that Francia claimed, Lady C, that she had invited the couple after being so inspired by watching their insipid Netflix documentary. So the moment she said that, I thought, okay, this woman's lying. She's not telling the truth, because no one was inspired by the Netflix reality show. It was so awful. But when you say racist, Lady C, can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Yes. I have friends and relations who are Colombian, so I have some insight into what's going on in Colombia. And this government is extremely unpopular. It's extremely inept. And she is, and it's to her credit, she is the first Black vice president of Colombia. And but she is using her race not in a constructive way, but in a destructive way, in a divisive way. And of course, she and Meghan are two peas of the same pod. Now,
Well, I was going to say, who does that sound like? Who does that sound like?
well, exactly. It's, mirror images, even though one has to sort of enhance while the other can just go au naturel. But you notice Francia Marquez goes totally natural, while Meghan always makes sure that she doesn't. Definitely has to be straight.
So are they being used as political pawns, Lady C, or do they want to be political pawns? Do you see what I mean?
Lady Colin Campbell mocks their trip, calling it propaganda. At this point, it's clear Meghan and Harry are trying to rewrite history. And here's where things get even worse, because Lady Colin Campbell says Meghan is using race as a PR tool. During this trip, Meghan made sure to meet with Colombia's vice president, Francia Marquez, a black woman, and according to Lady C, this was a carefully calculated move. Lady Colin Campbell doesn't hold back. She straight up calls Meghan a race baiter. And honestly, she has a point.
I think they are both using colour to advance their themselves politically and personally. Now, I mean, I'm Jamaican, Dan, as you know, and we had a very racially aware prime minister called Markle, who was incidentally three-quarter white. And he used the color card in the most destructive way, and Jamaica has never recovered from it. And it is something that people who have great ambition but don't have great ability, and don't really have leadership ability, and don't have the understanding of what leadership is all about. They will use conveniences like the race card. Michael Manley used it to become one of the three leaders of the third world, along with Nyerere and Kaunda, who were both fully black, incidentally. But he wanted to be up there, and he was assisted by the Manchester Guardian and the British Labour Party, which was in power at the time. And he completely destroyed Jamaica's economy and Jamaica's reputation, invited in Fidel Castro. And we have now two women of color, one virtually white, the other obviously black, who are using color in what I regard as a Jamaican as a totally unacceptable way. Colombia, like Jamaica, is a racially mixed society. It has a far smaller percentage of black people than Jamaica does. Jamaica has overwhelmingly, now that they chased out most of the white people, they have an overwhelmingly black population. But they didn't always have an overwhelmingly black population. And there's no way that the white population can be chased out of Colombia because it's rather too large a percentage of the population. But, and I am not saying that in developing countries that there are not underclasses that need to be promoted and that need their interests assisted. I'm not saying that because they absolutely do. But for somebody like Francia Marquez to be using color the way she's using it and inviting a race beta like Meghan to be assisting her in not only using color but also using censorship, it's absolutely irresponsible, and it's going to do no good for Colombia. And ultimately, it's going to do no good for Francia Marquez because she thinks she is embarking upon a distraction technique which will assist her politically. It's not going to. It's not going to. The Colombian people of all colors are sufficiently disaffected with the government to know that she is a race beta of the highest order. And saying she had 12,000 comments for the year, as if that's some big deal. I get 12,000 comments a week.
Oh, totally. Totally. Couldn't agree more. And look, the pictures...
Can I cut you and make a point before?
Yes, please, please.
Also, what she has completely ignored with all of this nonsense about cyberbullying is that the biggest race betas of all and the biggest cyberbullies of all are Meghan and Harry's Sussex squad.
Yes. Totally. The irony.
Meghan has a long history of playing the race card whenever she needs public sympathy. She accused the royal family of racism, then backtracked. She blamed media criticism on racism, while ignoring the facts. Now she's aligning herself with a high-profile black leader to boost her global humanitarian image. Folks, this is not activism. This is manipulation. Meghan is using race to prop up her image, while ignoring the fact that real activists don't need PR stunts to prove their work. See that? Everything is for the cameras. The question is, how much longer will people fall for this?
But look, you're right. It's ridiculous because this is all propaganda. All of the pictures of Harry and Meghan, by the way, Harry looking very thin on top, Lady C, but all of the pictures meeting the Vice President today have been released by Archewell. So this is all controlled. But then you have the Daily Mail. Why do they keep on doing Harry and Meghan's propaganda for them, Lady C, describing this tour as royal in all but name?
Well, Dan, I don't know if you have received the prompts that Harry and Meghan's people have been putting out, and Bianca Betancourt is writing the script, and I have received the prompt for today with regards to the meeting. I've got it on my phone actually, but I can't. It will take too long for me to get it for you. But word for word, the Mail has quoted without changing anything. This is shocking journalism, and doubtless People magazine will be doing the same. This woman is with Harper's Bazaar, so they'll be doing the same. And it's actually a distasteful exercise, very akin to the sort of propaganda that Goebbels used to do on behalf of another rather distasteful set of people.
Well, do you know what? Thank goodness, Lady C, that we have your channel on YouTube and Outspoken, because we will be actually covering this tour with the honesty which you're clearly not going to get from the mainstream media. And all that I can assume is that the Daily Mail remains terrified because of the lawfare being waged by the Sussexes against them. But it's really pathetic, actually, to just repeat the propaganda. Now, there's another aspect of this tour, Lady C, that I want to talk to you about, which is the security thing. So Prince Harry claims he will not return to his own uncle's funeral, the funeral of Robert Fallows, the husband of Diana's sister, because of security concerns and this ongoing war that he's having with King Charles over the government refusing to pay for his security. But then he's happy to pitch up in Colombia, one of the most dangerous countries in the world. What do you make of that?
Irony upon irony. It's farcical, it's ludicrous, it's insulting to anybody with a brain or two eyes and two ears. It's just an insult to our intelligence that they could actually think that a rationale of that description would be swallowed by anybody except members of the Sussex squad. Now, I have been hearing very interesting things from people I know about the way the Sussex team have been briefing the press in America against the king. I mean, they have been in the last, well, I don't want to say exactly how long because I don't want to indicate who I'm getting information from, but quite recently they've gone hell for leather, briefing against the king in the most appalling manner, with really nothing but lies. And you know, this nonsense that it's safer in Colombia than it is in Britain. Well, I should imagine Colombia is very safe as long as Harry and Meghan are there without their kids. But for them to bring the kids to England, maybe it wouldn't be safe. But the attacks have nothing, the attacks that they fear would have absolutely nothing to do with anything external. It would be to do with the truth alighting upon their shoulders. Let me put it like that. So I think there's a very good reason for keeping the children away from this country, because I think too close an examination might have the deck of cards come tumbling down. So there's that element to it as well. And if they have nothing to fear, they can bring the children, because, I mean, you and I both know, Dan, that as soon as they are in the royal orbit, they are covered by the royal protection, which is already superb. So Harry demanding protection always is totally unnecessary. And there's another reason why he is demanding it. He and Meghan are hoping to have their IPP status restored.
And now let's talk about the royal family, because once again Prince William is sending a clear message. He wants nothing to do with Harry. Insiders have confirmed that despite Harry being just a short flight away, Prince William has zero interest in seeing him. And honestly, who can blame him? William sees Harry as untrustworthy, and he's right. The royals are done with Harry and Meghan's endless drama. Even Charles isn't reaching out. Why should William? Lady C says it best. The royal family is done with the Sussexes. They see Meghan and Harry for what they really are, opportunists who will use anyone for publicity. So the big question, should the royals ever take Harry back? Or has he burned every last bridge? And finally, let's just call it like it is. Harry and Meghan are desperate. They know their time in Hollywood is running out, so they're trying to make themselves relevant again. But the truth? Nobody is buying it anymore. At this point, Meghan and Harry are just embarrassing themselves. And the only people still falling for it are the ones who refuse to see the truth.
That would mean that they wouldn't have to ever pay for their security again. When they were in America, the Americans would pay. When they were in Argentina, the Argentines would pay. So when they were here, the British would pay. That's the aim. The aim is basically financial. It's also status orientated. Harry and Meghan want to be able to step off a plane, come here, go through the airport into a set of vehicles with all traffic lights neutralized and outriders stopping traffic so that they whiz through. And they also want, and this is something that people do not understand or realize, especially people in the press, they also want to be able to have that level of security and that level of ratification of their importance imposed upon the world. And then they will be able to come and go as they please without reference to anybody. So they could decide, oh, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, I'm going to be in Leicester and I'm going to open something, and the royal family would have no way of knowing what they were up to. That's a very important part of what all of this is about. So they would, at the moment, because of the way things are done, they have to give notice to get security, and they do get the security when they give the correct notice. But by giving the correct notice, they are also informing the authorities as to what their movements are. It limits their capacity for creating mischief.
Yes, and we know that's what they love to do. What do you make of folk, Lady C, who are saying that they're going to Colombia almost to try and create some sort of security scare so that they can then say, see, we're really targets. This is why the UK government has to give us security.
Well, I think that's a fallacious argument, because the fact of the matter is any incident that takes place in Colombia and not in the United Kingdom. So there are no parallels whatsoever. And I think if something happened, people would say, well, it happened in Colombia. They're the ones who went. They knew what the risks were. They went. It's got nothing to do with us. And why should we pay for them? Because also, even if they were on a royal visit as working members of the royal family, there would be liaison between Colombia and the United Kingdom. When the royals travel, they do not have their security people taking over from the host nation's security people. They may function in tandem in part, but the security of the visitor is to a large extent the responsibility of the host nation. So when people come up with all of that nonsense, it's cock and bull, Dan. It's cock and bull.
So let's break it all down. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's trip to Colombia is nothing but a phony PR stunt. Lady Colin Campbell calls out their fake royal tour. Meghan Markle accused of race baiting to boost her image. Prince William refuses to see Harry. The family is done. Meghan and Harry's Hollywood dream is falling apart. At this point, Harry and Meghan are nothing but reality TV stars trying to act like global leaders. But the question is, how much longer can they keep up this act? So now the big question, is this Colombia trip just another desperate PR stunt? Is Meghan Markle using race to manipulate public opinion? And will Prince William ever take Harry back into the royal family? Let me know in the comments.